All right, beautiful people. Welcome back. This is your host, Matthew from the Day and Night Podcast. This is episode number 90. Episode number 90. All right, this is episode number 90. As always, beautiful people, we thank those that continue to watch. Continue to like, subscribe, and comment if you can. Share if you can. As always, we got our co-host Mark in San Antonio.
Hello, everybody.
Another good one for you today. And as always, like I open up, I've been thinking. So hopefully everybody enjoy this one. I think it's a good topic. It's kind of stepping away from what we normally talk about. So yeah, I'm kicking to Mark and see what he got for us so far.
Just want to say, like always, appreciate you guys. It's a beautiful Saturday, a beautiful weekend. It's coming to an end for me. Vacation is over, so it's time to get back on that grind. But I just want to say thank you guys again. Like, subscribe, comment. As we always say, we always going to say. But this is going to be a good one, like we all have good ones. So it's a good one to talk about. I'm looking forward to it. So on that note, like always, I'm going to let you go ahead and start it off, and then I'll go ahead and piggyback.
All right. So beautiful people. Like I said, this one is a little out of some of the things we normally talk about. So I'm just going to get right to it. I feel as though this is prevalent information. I think this is something that everybody should talk about. So the topic is studies show that Black families pass on $0 to the next generation. So as always, I got some notes, broke it down, bring some context to it. And we're going to talk about as far as different categories and how it affects, Black families and why it's predicting by 2055, I believe, that the Black family wealth is going to be worth $0. And when I initially thought about it, the first thing I thought about was like when you have your parents or grandparents, whoever, transcend in life insurance. So it's a lot more to it, to wealth, opposed to just leaving back some life insurance money. So this is some of the topics we're going to talk about. The key factors that's contributing to the oh, hold up, that's something different. Just bear with me. Uh-oh. My notes all out of order, y'all. Hope y'all didn't throw it away. All right, so basically historical discrimination, slavery and the Jim Crow laws, redlining, employment disparities, income inequality, unemployment rates, education inequities, school funding, student debt, access to capital, business loans, health disparities, healthcare access, criminal justice system, mass incarceration, efforts to address the wealth gap, policy reforms, affordable housing, education and funding, economic opportunities, and healthcare access. Then I had some statistics that's going to blow your mind as far as when it breaks down the huge gap between Black wealth compared to any other race that's out there. So I'm just going to start off with the first two. And like I was saying, I initially thought Black wealth was more or less concerning or leaving money to the next generation was like life insurance. That is a part of it, but that's not the entire part of it. So I'm pretty sure, Mark, you have some good input with this. But as far as with the healthcare, I'm just going to start with that. We had, unfortunately, 3 people in our family that transcended: our mom, our dad, and older brother. And this is not speaking bad on anybody. I know with certain life insurance companies, if you have any predisposing healthcare issues, you can't get insurance. So I don't know if that was the case or not, but I know Dad, out of the three, he didn't leave anything back that I know of. So when you sit there and think about it, we all have an opportunity. Like I said, if we don't have the health issues and stuff, that we can actually leave something back in that one aspect as far as some life insurance policy. So that way the children will have something that they can use to put forth towards building their wealth or whatever the case may be. But I always had like a different mindset with it. And I'm just going to be honest. I initially was like, if I don't have a relationship with somebody, if I don't have a relationship with my children like I should, then why should I leave something back? Why should somebody make money off of my death? And that's what I believe for a long, extended period of time. And when I moved here to Georgia, someone I was dating, she talked to me, she's like, no, you shouldn't really do that. You should really take care of your children, regardless if they, have a relationship with you or not. You should definitely leave something back because it's just going to make their life better. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on. But I since changed my tune. I don't think that way anymore. But that's something that definitely was running through my mind at the time when I first retired. Was like, if you don't got a relationship with me, then I'm not going to allow somebody, regardless who it is, to make money off of my death. Because with Dad, I wasn't disgruntled. I wasn't upset because I didn't have a relationship with him as an adult. So I didn't expect him to. I wouldn't expect him to because I'm like, I didn't have a relationship with him. Yeah, we went back, we seen him and stuff like that. But I very rarely called him. The only interaction I had with him was when, I went home. So I didn't have any hard feelings when, he transcended and there was no policy or anything in place. I was like, it is what it is. That's just something I just have to bear. I didn't reach out as much as I should have. I didn't maintain a relationship like I should have. So that's just one aspect of it. So to try to paint a picture, so that as far as the historical aspect of Black wealth, the slavery and Jim Crow, Jim Crow laws, the legacy of slavery and the subsequent era of Jim Crow laws is severely limited economic opportunities for Black Americans. That's something that's still in place. Some people believe it's still in place. And once I get into a little bit further, I'm going to talk about, like I said, the discrepancies and stuff as far as us as Black people, that we don't have the same opportunities opposed to other races, to whereas we can develop that economical wealth. So I don't want to take up too much time. So Mark, I'm going to kick it to you real quick and see what you have to say so far.
Well, I mean, I'm somewhat like you on the first part where you were saying that I had a small, minute vision of what leaving wealth was. Again, I was the same way. I was thinking it's just more or less leaving money to your kids and be able to have them taken care of if you do pass away. So now that I'm a little bit more aware and I understand more, generational wealth is if you have a small business, it's something you want to pass on so that way they can pick it up if they choose to. Because the thing that I'm on the fence about that is if you have your kids and they only not believe, but they don't do what you do, whatever your profession is or business, and you try to leave it to them, you ain't here to really control it. But it's just like, hopefully they would take it over and continue it. You don't know if they're going to sell it or get rid of it because it's not really per se what they wanted to do. So that's where I'm on the fence, but I still believe we should leave generational wealth to allow them to be able to, continue on prosper, but hopefully again, that's the route they want to take because, you never know. They might get something and change it or do something else with it. So I think that's another dynamic I'm sure you're going to probably target later. But the other thing is, I want to hit on what you were saying about the life insurance. Now, that's, to me, personally, I believe is one of the most important ways to do it because, that's to me like new 401k. And with all going on, like we talked about last week with the Project 2025 coming up, we need to really start thinking about how we gonna leave this for our kids and their kids, because if we don't have certain things, their life insurance is gonna be the best way or avenue to go down. For myself personally, I have a great life insurance policy where it's like you said, and I think most of them is the same way. It's based on your general health. So for my life insurance, the healthier I am, the more I be rewarded when I'm ready to retire, because you get all that money back. Right. But the other side of it is, and this is what I like about it, God forbid this ever happen, but I got all my kids on there. I even got my grandsons on there and daughter. I'm gonna put her on there. But if something was to happen to me, they all would get a percentage of whatever it is, the policy. I'm not going to disclose how much it is, but I'm just basically saying that they all going to get a portion of that. And then the other good part is, if something was happening to me now, if I get dismembered, a limb or something, and I'm not able to work, they will still get benefit and get parts of that the money that'll be coming into me if I was to get an accidental hurt or get paralyzed or something where I can't able to work. They will all be benefited off of that. So that's a little different, because I'm still alive as opposed if I pass away. But to me, I'm gonna say this too. What I think would be different is, I don't know if it's possible, but you should put a stipulation on how they get that if you was to pass away. Because to me, like when Jay passed, he had a will, but due to his health situation, he wasn't able to finalize it. So that messed up his whole life insurance policy because of that. So he had us on there, he had mom on there. So Jay had a good ass life policy, just he didn't get to follow through on it. So I feel like, again, if you get that money, this is probably a little bit off subject, but hopefully the kids use it in the right manner. Because to me, I think that's important, because you want to have generational wealth, but you want them to be able to use it and use it the right way. But that's another story for another day. This is more or less taking care of your family and hoping that they have benefits. So I believe that's, for me, the number one way is life insurance. Obviously, now if you have a small business, like I was saying, if one of your kids who you feel like would be the most responsible, you'll probably leave it to one of them and let them benefit from it and hopefully continue on with that. But the other stuff, I'm gonna let you speak more on it, because honestly, I didn't even think about the slavery part and all of that, but it opened my eyes just by you mentioning that right now.
Okay. So I want to not insult anybody's intelligence. I'm pretty sure that most people know what the difference between wealth and income is. So wealth is the measure of cash and other assets minus debt that a family can rely upon to weather financial shocks like rapid inflation, recessions, illnesses, and job losses. All right. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to the massive racial gap between the largest, most prominent economic inequality in the country. So I'm just going to focus on that part as far as about the wealth. And I'm going to be honest, that's something that I knew what wealth was, but I always focused it on how much money I made, not as far as how much money you have opposed to the debt that you have minus the debt that you have, which is going to give you the net amount that what you're worth. And that's where the big decline comes in for us as Black people. For whatever reason, I know part of it is, we're trying to, in my opinion, not saying it's right, but I feel as though we try to live up to this so-called American standard. We're trying to prove to other people that we can be successful. We can have the same things just like anybody else. And I think that's what cripples us, is because we're so focused on getting the big cars, getting the big jobs, making an X amount of money, having a big house, having all the expensive clothes and jewelry, like you see all the entertainers, more so the rappers, but that's not an asset. That's a liability. Now, with some jewelry, it may have some significance to it. It may have some asset to it, because if it's real diamonds and so forth. But as far as all that money that they're spending, and if they're in debt, like a lot of the athletes, they get in debt, and some of these entertainers, they get in debt. They can make all the money they want, but because the debt is so high, that decreases their actual, net worth. And that's where the big decline is. And, they can put on social media, they can put on the news and all this stuff. We look like, okay, we doing good. We got two billionaires. Was it Jay-Z, Michael Jordan? I think the two that come to my mind, and Bob Johnson, I think. There was a three. But other than that, just the average citizen, we're putting so much money into things that has no value to it, that we're crippling ourselves, and we're not maintaining that net worth. And when we do transcend, we don't have anything to pass down to our children. So life insurance is one way, but as far as having something, like you said, having a business in place, and that's a good point that you brought up, as far as, well, what if the children don't want to run the business? What if that's something they're not even interested in? But the fact is, they can sell it, and there's still net worth that's being passed down to the next generation. Rather, what they do with it, if they keep it going or whatever, that's still something that's being passed down, opposed to bragging rights. Well, I make X amount of money. I got a PhD. I got a master's degree. But if you have nothing to pass down to the next generation, then what good is it? And that's one of the discrepancies that we have, is that it is so misleading as far as with college. And I'm going to break that down. I want to talk about the statistics as far as how it's a mirage. Yes, it's good to go to school. It's good to get the education. But because so many of us are in debt to pay those loans back, it decreases our net worth. So yes, you can get a job making maybe six figures, but because you're still paying those student loans back, it decreases your net worth. So now again, you got the prestige, you got the title, and you got the degree, you got the money, but there's no net worth. So that's something that we have to take in consideration when it comes to planning for the future with our children, and truly knowing the difference between net worth. Knowing the difference between wealth opposed to income, and which one is more valuable for our future of our children, the next generation, opposed to our ego saying, look at me, look what I have. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now this goes into, as far as the redlining, the discriminatory housing policies, such as redlining, prevented Black families from buying homes in certain neighborhoods and accessing mortgages, hindering their ability to accumulate wealth throughout home ownership. So that's another way of gaining net worth, is being able to purchase a home or purchase land, and being able to maintain that over years. You have it paid off, whatever. That's something else you can pass down to your children. That's an asset, and it adds to your net worth, opposed to, your debt and so forth. But because the time we was coming up, we didn't have those abilities to buy homes or to buy land. So while everybody else was moving up, we was either staying still or we was going down. So from that generation passing on, not having anything to pass on, then the next generation come up and they're doing the same thing. They're trying to struggle and they're trying to maintain. And because they didn't have anything, now they're still focused on, well, I got to get my degree. I got to get my big house. I got to get my car. And they're flossing the money and stuff like that. And they're not thinking about, okay, do I actually have some net worth that I can pass down to my kids? So I'm just going to get your perspective on, what I just talked about.
Yeah, you just took it right out of my mouth. I was hoping you weren't going to speak on it, but damn it, you did. So it's going to be like I'm copying, but it's just going to be piggyback. I ain't going to say copy, but piggyback. So I was just about to speak on real estate. That was the other aspect, as far as, other than life insurance. I think real estate, it would be one of the most important ways to pass on the wealth or generational wealth. Because like you said, it's not easy for us to purchase homes or to get them. But nowadays, I think it's a little, I ain't gonna say it's easy, because the way inflation and all that, I know here in San Antonio, real estate took a little hit over the last year or so, but I know about 3 or 4 friends of mine that do real estate. And one of them, she got 2, 3 houses that she's using for home health care, and she's got her own staff that comes in, but they bring in the elderly and they take care of them. Now, the
Mhm.
reason why I'm saying that, unfortunately, she don't have kids, but that would be just an example of a perfect way to pass it on. If you create something like that where you have a house, you pass it on to your kids, and again, they can do it and use it in another aspect, as opposed to just living in it, or they can rent it out. But that's definitely a way to have that net worth, in my opinion. So I think real estate will probably be one of the other ways. And I think the other thing I'm gonna speak on is is educating yourself. Like you said, the thing about the school and all that, 100%, I agree with that. So I think we still need to educate ourselves and teach our kids that we want to get net worth and be able to pass that on, because, yeah, going to work every day and busting your ass and hoping your 401k is going to cover it is not the only way nowadays. We got to have another other outlet, and the other outlet is, to me personally, is creating or getting some kind of business to where
Mhm.
you would be able to prolong that and be able to pass it on. I know a long couple of episodes we talked about that. I know it's not easy when I say get a business, because I know what you probably in the back of your mind thinking, like, yeah, you could do that, but there's a lot of channels you got to go through. But I'm just pretty much saying that that's something you want to open your mind up to figure out ways. Like for me, our kids is grown. Like my daughter's about to be 31 next week, or in next month, excuse me. So I'm not gonna say it's too late to pass on something to her, but she has a son. So what I want to tell her is, look, you want to do something so that way your little man will have something to fall back on
Mhm.
if something was, God forbid, ever happened to you. So I feel like for myself, I can pass it on to Marcus, my son, and then he can pass it on to his kids. So even though they older, I don't think it's never too late. So I don't know if anybody's thinking, well, my kids is already grown, they creating their own life. True. But again, if we still have something that we can still pass along, I don't think there's no age on it. It shouldn't be, well, they too grown or they older now. Really, that this should matter, because you can still pass it on to them. But I believe we should educate ourselves more and get more involved or aware of, yeah, we need to have some kind of generational wealth, because I think that is a big problem with us. I hate saying this. We all say it now, the community, speaking of black folks, when we say that. But it's something I think that's better, but it is still a lot we can improve on. And
Mhm.
you hit the nail on the head, but we focus more on the material aspect to kind of feel like, oh, we made it because we have a nice car, or a nice house, which is nice. But if you, or a house is okay, but a car, yeah, you can pass that on. But a car, it changes every year. It just has no appreciation on it because it depreciates. So a car wouldn't
Mhm.
even be, to me, I don't even put that in conversation. But at least if you have a house, I think that's one way.
Mhm.
But yeah, we gotta stop this mindset of that's the way we prove that we made it, and then don't even think about our kids. Because I'm gonna say this, and I'm giving back to you, Matt. Now it's gonna come across as I'm putting down my race. It's not. I'm just being real about it. I've worked around a lot of different other races, and one thing I noticed, and even one of the comedians said this on that Club Shay said, he was saying the one thing that bothers me that we do as a community is the support that we don't do for each other. And I think that's a big issue, because I look at Hispanics, I look at Asians,
Mhm.
even the Persians, the Indians, and all them. They keep their business, if they have a business, but they keep it in house. They
Mhm.
very rarely will bring somebody else outside, but if they do, this majority is ran by the family. I have a friend that has a little gym that his dad owned. His dad passed it down to his son. Now he's about to pass it down to his son, and all of them work within that gym, but they all keeping it in house, so that way they continue that business. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's something we really got to start focusing on, is that, supporting each other. And you may say, well, I may not support what they do, but if it's something that you feel like you could do it, then we need to do that. I really believe that's our biggest downfall, is we don't have
Mhm.
enough support for each other on businesses or whatever it is, that's something positive. We really need to do that. I know that's kind of off subject, but I feel like that's key for us. That's one of the main reasons. We got to support each other. But yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like that. Real good points. And I'm just going to read a comment that Christina said. She said she agree. You should leave something for your children, if possible, regardless. Both her parents are still living, and she says she know for a fact her mother has nothing to leave us, but her dad might. And then she says, but I will be leaving someone something for her children, regardless. Just don't go through what I have. I like that. Now, this is the other thing I was thinking about too. Then I want to get back to the notes I have. Is I still think it's important that we still, like you said, we have to educate our children as far as what is generational wealth, wealth in general, because, and I'm sure you know who you might leave some money to and will spend it recklessly, and they're not going to do anything with it. They're not going to make it grow.
Exactly.
So, and I'm not just talking about you, but I'm just saying as a people, we have to be still smart enough to say, okay, we still have to make sure that we're leaving it to responsible people, because if they're not responsible, that money will be gone. And then it's like, not so you wasted time, but all that hard earned money, hard earned work you put in and the stuff you left back, it would be going just like that. So me personally, I feel as though it's really important that they're educated and that you're giving it to the right people, because they can squander that and then it's all for naught. So, like I said, that's still good, but we have to make sure that we're leaving it to the right people and that they're educated and mature enough to be able to maintain and push that generational wealth. Okay. So now I'm going to go and touch on, because mainly what I'm talking about now is this disparity and stuff that could be a reason why the generational wealth gap is so big between us and everybody else. So this is more or less what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these little subtitles. And so employment disparities, income inequality. Black workers often earn less than their white counterparts due to the discrimination and unequal access to high paying jobs. So I think as a people, the intent is there, but because there's so much so many roadblocks in front of us, that it makes it challenging sometimes to be able to do that. Because like right now, everybody's just trying to survive. And I was telling Kiera the other day, I said, y'all unfortunately in a bad time, because I don't know about San Antonio or anywhere else, but here it's challenging. Like you have to make damn near $30 an hour to survive, if not more. And if you got children just coming straight out of high school that don't have the ability to go to school and they don't have no skill, they're going to be left to work in these little jobs where they're making maybe $14, $15 an hour, to where they're going to still be at home. And that's still not helping the generational wealth, because their mom or dad is still trying to do their best to maintain. And then they're not really able to save and put away and invest. Only thing they're doing is just spending the money as they get it to maintain the bills in the household. So they're not building anything. So that's where the whole employment disparity kind of keep us, I believe it is systemic racism that keeps us in a certain place where we're not able to succeed the way we should, just as well as everybody else. And I'm not getting fooled with the little glitz and glamour, like I said, with the athletes and entertainers and stuff like that. Now, being here in Atlanta, that's one of the good things that I do like about it, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs here, and there's a lot of Black people that are actually doing great things. They got good businesses. I guess not focused on a house, but they're living in neighborhoods to where they got to have some type of money to live there. I just hope that they're maintaining their wealth and they're just not putting all that money into living in a big house and not able to save and invest, because it does no good to live in those nice neighborhoods, had a big house and car, but you don't have anything that you're putting away and building on so the next generation can continue to push it through. So that's just one of the categories. And then the education, school funding. Schools in the predominantly Black neighborhoods are often underfunded, leading to disparities in education opportunities and outcomes, like I was just talking about. In the inner city, some of those schools don't have the funding like a school in a suburban area. So what's going to happen is less likely those children are going to get a scholarship unless they're in sports. And then the ones that's not in sports, you might get a couple here and there that may have academic. But then what about the rest of them? Then they're stuck in that trap, right? And that's where we have to do our best to focus on, again, and getting our young people to realize it's nothing wrong with having nice things. But when you over splurge and you overdo it to where you have more debt than you have wealth, then that's a problem. And that's something I think we have to push to our next generation. Like Matthew, he has an entrepreneurial mindset. So I try to talk to him when I can, about expanding and thinking outside the box and stuff like that. And I told him that right now you're building your generational wealth for your family. Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to get him to venture off into other things and not just have that linear mindset. I'm just going to focus on clothing and stuff like that. But so I'm just curious what your perspective is on employment, what I just talked about, and then the educational part.
Well, yeah, both of them, again, you hit the nail on the head. I'm going to touch on the employment first and then the education. So they both tie in together. Like you said, if you don't have the proper education or paper to say that you are qualified, yeah, you're going to be stuck in, like you said, that trap of where you working them dead-end jobs where all you're doing is working to survive, but you're not working to live comfortably. And I feel like the main thing on that is if you feel like you're coming out of school and you don't want to go to school, or you feel like these young generations coming up, it's not for you, then you got to have a trade. To me, a trade is just as important as a scholarship because it has something skill set that you can be able to do where it will properly pay you for your worth instead of getting these peanuts that you do with these jobs where, like I said, it's a dead-end job and you're not going nowhere. So like you said, these families that's doing that, they just living to survive. So they never really going to be able to step and be able to save and create wealth to where they can pass it on. So I feel like that's a trap that we have to get at this point because we older. We have to talk to the youth. That's how I look at it. Because we 51. So I'm not going to say it's too late. I think even for myself, I'm working on different things to where, I can still better myself to where I can pass it on to the girls and Marcus if they choose to, take it and run with it. So I feel like I ain't going to say it's too late. It's going to be a challenge, but I feel like we can still do it. But for the youth, the young generation that's coming, yeah, they have to be educated. We have to be the ones to do it because I don't feel like nobody else is going to do it. If we don't do it, who's going to really do it? They might have the initiative and the admiration to do it on their own, but I feel like even as adults with adult kids, we can still talk to them and educate them and enlighten them to get them to go forward. But on the education, that's true. I'm sitting here and be honest, I didn't go but 1 year of community college, and I fell into that trap and had the two girls, young ladies now, and where I had to do the dead-end job. So I'm going to speak from experience and say, yeah, you do want to continue to educate yourself. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say you have to have, not have to have, you don't need a bachelor's or associate's or a master's to make it, but it will help because that piece of paper in this country is still going to help get you in the door. Now, it's not going to guarantee because I've worked with somebody that has a master and, he, for whatever reason, that's what he do, but we're not going to discuss that, but just saying that the education is important. For me, when I say educate yourself, is educate yourself to have the knowledge to know what you can and can't do. So I'm not saying just go to school and be educated. I mean, educate on things that you need to know. There's other avenues you can take to be able to do the generational wealth or get wealth or create equity and capital to where you can pass it on to your youth. So I feel like that's something you can research on your own. Because I have some colleagues that I know that didn't go to college and they doing good for themselves and they got businesses, small businesses that they passing on to their kids. So it can. I'm not saying to just don't take that route, but I'm saying you educate yourself again, get more information, figure out what you got to do, and just do it because that's what I'm doing. I just got my LLC, and I should have done that a long time ago,
Yeah.
you know. But one thing else I'm gonna say as far as having something, I know you said earlier about getting land. Now I know
Yeah.
that's not gonna be easy, but I think that's one of the best ways to purchase some small little land. They be having little lots here for a certain amount of acres that they put signs up for sale and do that. But see, you gotta know how to get a business loan. You gotta create and get your credit right where you can be able to get a business loan. But you had the nail on the head where it's going to be a little bit more harder for us because they want to keep us trapped in that box where we can't explore,
Mhm.
get out and adventure and create our own business and get on a small little land and build off of that. But I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I mean, it is an obstacle, I would say, but it can be done. I'm a
Right.
firm believer that we just got to again find ways to get through those loopholes. But it is a challenge for us. We know it. You know that. You just said it earlier. It's always going to be set up to keep us to
Right.
fail. Like we got to get past that and around that. Know that it can still happen.
Mhm. Okay, good points. So I just want to make sure I preface this that the stuff that I'm talking about is what the studies founded. So all these categories is what the studies found as far as why um, there's $0 that's being passed on in Black families to the next generation. So everything I'm talking about, this is what the studies found as far as why that is. And I'm going to talk about the student debt. Now, as far as Black students are more likely, according to the studies, are more likely to take on higher levels of student debt, impacting their ability to save and invest. So, for example, like Tamar, I'm sorry for putting her name out there. Sorry, TT, but she was doing good. She's doing lacrosse. She had an academic scholarship, not a um, athletic scholarship. And I don't know if it's the lacrosse or the time not being able to study and stuff. She kind of lost her academic scholarship, and now she has having to have to pay out of pocket to go to school. And the last time I talked to her, she's like, I think I might have to get a student loan. So these are some of the things that they're talking about because our families didn't pass anything down, whereas other families had that wealth to where they can pay for their children to go to college and they don't have to get student loans. So now they're not in school and building debt. Our children are in school and building debt. So when they get out of school, not only they have to pay to live, now they got to pay back their student loan. So the money that they're making is being offset of the debt that they have. And God forbid something to happen if they have children, then that's a setback or whatever the case is. Now that trickle effect of, going in a cycle of not being able to build true wealth because they're in so much debt that they're paying off the debt before they can build wealth. So that's the danger with the whole school thing. And, it's unfortunate. I told mine, I was like, I'm not paying for school. Y'all either going to get a scholarship or you're going to go in the military or something, but I'm not paying for it. I just feel as though it should be the child's responsibility. If they don't have any disability, it's, in my opinion, there's no reason why a child should get an academic scholarship. It just isn't. All it is hard work, discipline, along with if you're talented, where you have the knowledge and stuff like that, you can actually excel in academics. But other than that, it's just putting in the hard work. But that's another story for another day. So I just want to read this comment that KJ said. She said that you can leave stipulations on how to distribute the wealth you leave to your children. I agree with we have to educate our children. Yeah, most definitely there should be stipulations if you're leaving some money back and not just leave it out there and they just take it and just do what they want to do with it.
Right.
Good point. Thank you, KJ. All right, so the next piece, as far as what the studies found, is access to capital. Business loans. That's what you was just talking about, Mark.
Mhm.
Business loans. Hold on, did I skip something? Okay, business loans. Black entrepreneurs face more challenges in securing business loans and venture capital, limiting opportunities for wealth creation through entrepreneurship. And that's something else that we've have challenges with. We try to get the business loans, whatever reason, it may get declined, or you know, we go to school, find out that's not what we want, and we get credit cards, and then we run the credit cards up, and now our credit is bad. So that's a limiting factor when it comes to getting a business loan. So it's just so many things that kind of stack up against us that doesn't allow us to build that wealth. And that's something that we have to find a way to help stop and prevent from these things, from continuing to hinder us. But it's just some things that's out of our control. Um, in a sense, if we focus more on the areas of finance and we get more of our people into, financing where they can do banks. I mean, be it a bank or own a bank, to start a business of a loan, business loan or whatever, payday loan type of thing, then we're still kind of strapped to be able to catch up with everybody else. All right, and what's the next one? Health disparities. Healthcare access. Poor access to healthcare and higher rates of chronic illnesses can result in higher medical expenses, reducing ability to save and invest. So again, the way we eat. I love soul food. I used to eat it all the time. But this stuff is not healthy. It's not good for us. And again, the restaurants and stuff that's in the predominantly Black neighborhoods are not good for us. And that's where we tend to go eat. So what happens? We eat the wrong foods, we drink alcohol, we get sick. Now we don't have proper health care. Now you're putting all that money into health care, trying to maintain your health, opposed to investing and putting away. So it's so much that hinders us, that some of it is on us and some of it isn't. But the things that we can control, I think that's where we have to starting to tighten it up. We have to start taking responsibility and not keep looking at somebody else and say, well, because of who we are and what skin color we are, we got too many things coming against us. That's true to an extent. But when it comes to things that we can control, then, teaching our children, eating proper food, doing the right things with spending with our money, those are things that we control. So I think it's like a half and half. Yeah, we got some things coming against us, but the other half is us doing it to ourselves. All right. So, Mark, what's your perspective on those things I just talked about?
Yeah, I'm gonna go backwards a little bit. Again, I'm gonna make like a suggestion or comment, whatever you want to call it, but it's about the creating the capital or the wealth. I think personally, this is something we all should look into. I'm gonna say I'm looking into it because actually a guy at work kind of got me into it, or he spoke on it, is buying stock. Now, stock is really tricky. You got to really pay attention to understand the way stock works. Because buying stock could get you, it's a roller coaster. So it's up to me. It's almost like gambling. I basically how I see it.
That's all it is.
Right. So, but if you purchase the right stock, like the guy where I work at told me, purchase stock in your company because they have a lot to do with it too. So when that fluctuates and you create, how the money comes and goes, but you still make money off of it because you put stock into it. So basically, you got to do your homework on that. You got to purchase stock that you know that's going to do well, because that has so many dynamics. It has to do with the business, trading, import. So I mean, some people may feel like it's overwhelming. They might not even want to do it, and I think that's why a lot of people don't, because they feel like it's too much. But if you purchase a stock that's something that you know that's going to, for the end, because we all businesses go by quarters. So the quarters, right? As you know, Matt, if it does good at the last quarter, is when you're gonna make your money. But you gotta know when to buy it and when to get it and when to get out. But just make a long story short, stock is one way to purchase and build and let that be something to create, and then you can pass that on, to your kids. Now, on the other thing, as far as the health, I'm not even going to try to go into a long conversation on that, because that's pretty, to me, self. It's it's just so obvious. Like, you got to take care of yourself. You know you need to take care of yourself. So it's something that if you take care of yourself, that will eliminate most of your problems. Because one thing I will say about health is certain things we can't control, where it may be predominantly passed on from generation. And I mean, I don't like saying that a lot when people tell me, well, it's hereditary. I think some of it is, and some of it we use that as a scapegoat to say that's why we're dealing with it, because you can find ways to get through that, to get past that, I should say. But whatever we control health wise, like you said, Matt, is no reason. It's just focusing and wanting it, and understanding that, yeah, them bills for the for health is ridiculous. So if you don't want to pay all that, to me, it's a no-brainer. Take care of yourself, And as a personal trainer, I talk about this all the time. That's why I want to go into too much of it, because I'll be here for hours, and I'm going to come across as I'm trying to be lecturing people. So I'm not going to do that. I just feel like that's something you should self-work. If it's, to me, it's balance. Like you said, if you don't want to pay all those health bills, if you don't want to pay all that to take care of yourself, you're going to pay one way or another. So which one you want to pick? And that's how I see that with the health when it comes to that. It sounds kind of blunt, but it's something that shouldn't be, uh, you know, beat it into your head. To me, that's a self-worth that you got to know that your health is important. If you care about yourself, you'll take care of that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But what was the other one you mentioned? You were saying something else. But yeah, as far as those two, that's something that you got to take care of and be conscious and realize that that's something important to you. If you love yourself, then you need to take care of that. So I'm not going to say much on that.
Okay, so I just want to read these statistics. Now I'm going to get into stats based off the study that they found. Now, this is what's alarming to me. It says one of the biggest gaps since 2013 and 2022, the median wealth among white families was $285,000 compared to $536,000 for Asian Americans. At the same time, the median wealth for Black families was $44,900, and Latino families about $61,600. So we're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the median national average as far as how much the family makes, the net worth. And again, I'm not trying to make it seem like, we're bad and we're just doing really bad, but I just don't want us to get so distracted from all these celebrities and entertainers and these people on Instagram flashing their money and talking about they making X amount of money. There's 485 million Black people in the United States. Now, how they get their stats and stuff like that, I don't know. The Census Bureau is supposed to be one of the most accurate organizations or agencies that gather this information. But however they gathered it, it's still alarming to me that that's just the average. That's the average 44,000. So how can you build generational wealth if the average family is only bringing in 44,000? That's crazy, because as you know, well, at least here in Atlanta, you're not making off of 44,000. You're just not. You have to be making in the close 60s just to be close to being considered a middle class. So now I'm going to start reading some of the stats where it talks about education. And this again is kind of misleading. So this is something that a financial person said. If the economy is growing at 3%, you have to earn 6% to build wealth. Your income has to grow faster than the economy. And if you have massive amounts of student loans or debt, your earnings will not grow faster than the debt. And so now you're playing catch up. So it's great to go to school, but if you got those student loans, I think Candy said she's still paying on hers. And it's been 30-something years. That's crazy. So, and this is what it says. It says African American women is the most educated women in the United States, but they also have the lowest net worth of women in the United States. And this is the reason why, based off the study. Single Black women with a bachelor's degree from the ages of 20 to 39 have a median net worth of $11,000 to $0, while white women has a net worth range of $3,400 to $7,500. Married Black women with a bachelor's degree, ages 20 to 39, have a median net worth of $20,000 to $7,700, while white women have a net worth of $18,000 to $97,000. Single Black women with a bachelor's degree over 60 have a median net worth of $11,000, while white women have a net worth of $384,000. Married Black women with a bachelor's degree over 60 have a median net worth of $424,000, while white women have a net worth of $778,000. So basically, I'm just trying to put that out there to let everybody know that there's a huge gap as far as the amount and net worth of our, of us. And if you're not making that, then it's no way you can pass that on to the next person or to your children. So part of it, like I said, is us putting in the work, doing what we have to, but we have to pay attention. Just like what I was talking about with the Project 2025. If that puts into place, then that's just going to make this even worse. And that's what they're projecting. Right now, at the pace that we're on, by the year 2053, the Black family net worth is going to be $0. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion, is to put that out there, because a lot of us don't know, because like I said, we see people looking like they're successful, but what is their actual net worth? Are they actually investing money and saving money opposed to just spending money?
Right.
So let's get tricked by the glitz and glamour, because how they say everything that shines don't glam, or whatever that saying is going. Everything that shines is not fancy or whatever. But so I'm just curious what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like you said, that's alarming. To me, that's like the light going off, for me. That's me. But hopefully whoever's watching this, you take that, kind of seriously, and understand that, this is something that's not going away. It's going to happen because the trend, so we got to be proactive and figure out what can we do to change this narrative. So I feel like the only way to do that is again, I'm repeating it, is educate yourself, because from hearing what you were saying with the stats, now dare I say this, to where I'm not trying to push anybody not to go to school or promote it. I'm just saying, think about your, how would you go about that? Because if you do, like you were saying in the beginning, tell your kids, go for academic scholarship, if anything, or even a athletic scholarship. Because if you don't, and you go to one of these universities it's 9 times out of 10 you're gonna create a debt, and then you're gonna live the rest of your adulthood, not the rest, the majority of your adulthood trying to pay back on something, and then you're gonna be stuck in that medium where you're not getting ahead, you're just surviving. So I just feel like it's a catch-22. Some people might go, "What are we supposed to do?" That's why we're saying this: develop some kind of business or something where you can develop, where you can have equity and to create that capital. Again, this is where you're gonna have to do your homework and research and figure out what's gonna be best for you. But don't just let it fall to the wayside and feel like, oh well, ain't nothing we can really do. If it's like that, what can we do? That's where you gotta take the initiative and figure it out, and see what can and cannot do. But I feel like this is something that's important. Those numbers is ridiculous. Like I never would have. I mean, I knew it was kind of not good, but I know after hearing the numbers, that's like I said, that's a wake up for me personally.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to really sit down with our youth and be like, hey, look, here it is. Let's have I used to do it with the kids, but not, they all grown now. We all have our different lives. But we used to sit, do a little round table and talk about stuff and what we do or how we should do it. I feel like sometimes you got to do that with your youth to get them to understand that this is something that's not going away. We got to change the narrative now. Be proactive, not reactive. Don't wait till it to happen and realize, oh shit, I gotta do something, man. I gotta, it's gonna be not late, but it's gonna be harder. Do it now that you know. Get out there, like you said, and do what you gotta do. It's hard work, but hey, it's worse than not doing something and just laying there and letting it happen and complain about it later.
So. All right, so I just want to talk about a solution. You already mentioned one of it, or one of the solutions. So one of the biggest solutions is having conversation like we're doing right now, is actually talking about it. Okay. And to have the mindset, like you said, work smarter, not harder. And one of the other ones is being equipped with the knowledge to transform the income that we have into wealth. And one of those is like you was talking about as far as stock. And for whatever reason, a lot of us don't invest in the stock. And I'm not going to sit up here in front. I was one of those. I was like you said, stock is nothing but gambling. And I just didn't see it as something that was positive because it was constantly going up and down. It was always fluctuating. So I was like, well, I'm not even going to invest in it. But that's definitely something that we should invest in and, look into, is getting into stocks and NFTs and stuff like that. So that's the solution, is the education, the conversation, and actually holding each other accountable. And I know it's hard when you got young people because it's all about partying and having a good time and, trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. So it's kind of hard to, bring them in and to get them to see, because we was young. We was the same way. The stuff I know now, if I knew then, man, I'll be freaking a millionaire right now, almost a billionaire. And I'm not just talking. I'm like dead serious. If I knew then what I know now, yeah, I would definitely be, maybe not a billionaire, but definitely a millionaire. And I was telling Josh the other day when I went to his graduation, I was like, dude, take advantage of the opportunity when you're in the military. Don't run and buy a car, carpool with your buddies, get a bicycle, whatever. You got food, you got housing, you got everything you need. There's no reason at all to spend money. None. You got clothes, they got everything you can possibly want right there at your reach. And all he had to do is invest that money. And by the time, if he don't retire, he would leave at least, and this is no lie, close to, if we go up in rank and stuff like that, I won't say $500,000, but at least $250,000. When I was in the military, and this is not me just talking and trying to brag or nothing like that, I definitely made $1 million. But because of no education, I squandered it, and that's why I'm having this conversation now, is we have to grab them now. But actually, like you said, it's late, but it's not too late. But we have to start talking about this instead of talking about TikTok and football games and movies and stuff like that. We should be sitting down with our children talking about wealth. How are we going to build generational wealth? What can we do to build generational wealth? What can we do to combat some of the obstacles that's placed in front of us? So my children, your children, their children is not going through the same things that we're going through. That's the only way we can make a difference and make a change. I've been blessed. I got some money coming towards me, and I keep telling myself, I said, you know what, Matt, this the last opportunity. I have to do right with it and do something good with it, opposed to just blowing it on frivolous stuff. So it's this book that I purchased, and I started reading it. Was it yesterday? It's called Wealth Building, the 1-3 Method. Okay, so the 1/3 method is 1/3 in stocks, 1/3 in bonds, and 1/3 in real estate, and 1/3 in liquid assets. So I just started reading it, but so far it's really good information. This is stuff that we should be giving our children, not games, not stuff that's not going to do anything. This is the stuff we should be giving our children. If we truly care about them like we say we do and we love them, let's set them up for success. Start getting them stuff that's going to be beneficial for them, not something that's just going to keep them like everybody else, just robots running around. Mm-hmm. All right, that's my soapbox for the day. So I just want to go over another. I already read this stat. So the median household net worth, it actually dropped from 2022. Now for the Black family is 18,000. Hispanic is about 40,000. Other, I don't know what other is about 60,000. Whites are about 200,000. Asian American is over 250, and in all is about around 150. So we're falling behind, beautiful people. We're falling behind. Like I said, we got stuff that's coming up against us, stuff that was passed down from generation, and we got to deal with the systemic stuff. But like I said, it starts with us at home, with our children. If we have businesses out there, we got to do the right thing in those businesses, make sure that they're building wealth. And it's good to have a business, but what good is if you pass that business off if it's in debt? So the key is having less debt and more wealth. So let's not pass businesses off that's going to put our children into debt. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So Mark, what do you got? I know we're getting close.
Yeah. Well, just you said it when you put the book up, because I was going to say the other one was bonds is another one to invest in.
But yeah, I said bonds is on there.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I was going to say that, but you already put the book up where it had bonds in it. So yeah. Pretty much I was going to say that was the other one. Mm-hmm. But one thing too, now I used to do it. I ain't gonna lie, I stopped doing it because hard times you tend to go to that route. But I don't know if it was Jay that told me or my old boss Rufus told me you should $1 a day. Not saying you have to put $1, but he said if you put $1 a day into your savings and leave it there, you can build on that and just let it sit and let it build that interest. So I think that's one thing that we really need to teach our kids too. So most of them know that, but they don't know enough about it on how to build with that savings separate from your checking. You got to always have that extra account and you build on that and let it create interest. And it sits there. And then when you get to a certain amount of time, then you can invest into something and let it just make money off of making money. So I think that book, what you got is perfect. That's a good way to educate yourself, like I was saying earlier, on how to find ways to make money to continue. So I think that's perfect, is that book. But pretty much you said everything. You closed it perfectly on that note. So I don't have too much other to say than, this is something that's like you said, it's accountability. This is not going away again. This is something that should wake you up and realize that I need to go forward in the right direction, especially if you have kids or I got grandkids. So I'm definitely going to, tell them as they get older and educate them and have them get set up for when they get older, because God knows what's going to happen by the time they get grown, but still give them that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, pretty much that's all I'm gonna say on that, because you closed it perfectly. So I just concur on what you just said. Not saying I'm just letting you say it, but I'm just saying like that was perfect. I'm gonna say less and just get out there, guys. Focus and understand that this is something important. We really need to address it, not just take it as, oh, that was a good podcast, and then the next day you just let it go. Really be proactive with this, because this is something that's going to affect you and your youth. So I just feel like we need to be more in tune. I will say this real quick, and I said it earlier, and I'm very passionate about it, is being around different cultures. I just see, and I'm not saying we don't, but we are very bad at it, is supporting each other on certain businesses. Now, like you said earlier, you don't want to give something that's bad to somebody else just to continue that trend, that chain of bad stuff. So when I say that, I'm literally meaning when it makes sense. Like if it's a good business and you're doing good, then we need to uh carry each other and keep helping each other instead of hating on each other and try to just disown what they're doing and walk away from it. Because I'm calling how I see it. I feel like that's one of our downfalls, even in the immediate family. Some immediate families don't support each other if it's a good business. Not if it's something that's ridiculous. We don't want to support bad. We want to support only good. So I feel like that's important, because I think that makes a difference on passing on something to the next generation, family wise. Is we gotta be in tune with it. Like if you're doing something and it makes sense, I need to be on board. If you ask me, hey Mark, I need you to do this and that to continue this family business or whatever, I feel like that's important. I feel like that's a downfall to part of us being successful. I really do. You know, along with the obstacles they throwing at us, that's just making it harder. But I feel like bonding and being together will help if it's the right thing, not the bad stuff. Definitely not the bad stuff. But on that note, that's how I feel about it.
All
I
right.
believe.
I just want to read this real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought this was really profound when I read this.
Mm-hmm.
It says, wealth flows through us, not to us. Wealth flows through us, not to us.
Yep.
We are constantly transferring money from one institution to another. Mm-hmm. We go to school and have to take on additional jobs to fund our education, our overall living expenses. Money typically goes from our jobs to the education system. And this pattern doesn't stop after graduation. When we get into the workforce, money often flows from our jobs to pay hefty mortgages and student debt payments to keep up with the lifestyles of our colleagues. We need to allocate more money toward investing if we want to build wealth. So that's the biggest takeaway that I have, is just building wealth and not trying to keep up with the Joneses, as that famous quote is, and just do what you have to do. All this stuff that's out here, we don't really need the extra stuff. And the only way we can stop this drastically decline as far as Black families having wealth is we have to take responsibility for ourselves, and we got to and hold other people accountable. Because with all the obstacles that's in front of us, that's already a roadblock. So we can't keep preventing ourselves from, doing better by doing it to ourselves. Whatever's out there, we got to deal with that, but let's not continue to do it to ourselves. All right, let's be smart. Like Mark said, support each other, and conversation. As Mark always says, conversation rules the nation. So, let's do it. Like I said, I'm putting my money, I'm going to start doing that 1/3. And I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to be about it. And hopefully everybody else does share. If you don't have to share this podcast, just share the topic. Just talk about it. So what do you think about Black wealth? How do you see yourself when it comes to Black wealth? Is your family prepared? Do you have something to pass down, to your children? Is it going to continue to grow? And to see where it goes from there. So with that, beautiful people, thank you for joining. Thanks for the comments, KJ and Christina. As always, like, subscribe, comment, and share if you can. Your thoughts becomes your belief, and your belief creates your reality.